Right, so today it's climate, and this is the BBC News website, and this is a photo. Ruslan, do you remember where I said this was? Do you remember? So I was just about to say where it was, and I thought, well, maybe you might remember. So this is a county in England, and it's right in the south, and for many
Yeah,
years, yeah, can you remember?
a, a crown, yeah, if I'm
Say
not
again?
a crown, or probably
Crown.
my pronunciation is wrong.
Okay. So a lot of Brits wouldn't know where this was either. But this area is sometimes called, I imagine, looking at the photo, the Somerset Levels. The Somerset Levels. And the level bit there is simply saying that it's quite flat. It's all at the same level. And being all at the same level, when one little bit of it floods, it probably means the whole area is going to flood. And if you look at it, it is pretty much all the same sort of height, isn't it? There's obviously a hill in the distance over here, and then we're on a hill here. I guess we're on a drone here, aren't we? So what would you say this building is in the bottom of the picture down here? Have a
I would
guess.
say it's look like a s- uh, old castle.
Hmm. Um, from the shape of it, I would guess is actually a church, an old church. So this is quite standard for a church in that they have a tower at one end. And this is the tower, the tallest part here. And then next to
Okay.
it is sort of like looks like a house or something, doesn't it really? But
Like a
but the
hole,
roof,
yeah.
yeah, a hall,
Okay.
that's it. But the roof is missing. But the thing at the end, we can see through the roof because it's not there, and we can see an enormous, looks like a huge door. But that was almost certainly in the past a window, and there would have been a glass in there, and a particular type of glass that is called. If I go back to this window here, look at this car, of course, won't we? So if I say stained. Oh, there we go. It's come up on the screen already. So stained glass windows. So let's go to images actually, because you can't really see it properly there. So even today and in the past too, there tends to have this sort of glass in it. So this is called stained glass. So it isn't. If it was clear glass, it would be sort of white or just transparent, effectively. But this is clearly blue, yellow, reddish, orange, maybe. And this would be for a house, and I guess these are all houses here. But churches tended to have a religious design, perhaps a cross. If you go as I scroll down, these are classic. Most of these seem to be classic sort of religious designed stained glass windows. And even in these very small photos, they look really quite beautiful. And this one here would be, I don't know, perhaps 30 meters high. Sorry, um, 30 meters high would be absolutely huge. So let's say it looks like it could be getting on for 10 meters high.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wouldn't be
it can
30.
be.
So it would be huge, but it would be huge. Um, and these round ones might have particular names, etc. But this one here, there's some religious characters in here. These might be icons, essentially, they're similar to an icon, but people wouldn't normally pray to them or anything. They'd just be there for for inspiration. So that's some of them there. But there's an amazing amount of effort, and these would be incredibly expensive. But people were so dedicated to going to church that they would gather the money up, and they would be installed. The only thing is, though, a lot of them were broken in the Second World War when bombs dropped nearby, so they were smashed to pieces, and so that was a lot had to be replaced, and a lot haven't still yet to be replaced. Okay, so that's the photo, and so this is probably sort of farmland. I'm not quite sure if it's arable. So when I say arable, do you know what arable is? When I say arable,
Arable, it probably
Look,
private piece of land.
um, if it's arable, it's saying something about what grows on the land. Um, so if I just tap in arable now, so we got, let's go put another a new window. Because see, I'm not sure why I'm not putting it into the dictionary. Put it in the dictionary really. Probably the best way to do it. Um, yeah, so arable has come up on the screen. Let's scroll down. So it's saying um, of land used or suitable for growing crops. Crops. So it's wheat, that sort of a thing.
Uh,
But
Not
so,
apple, yeah, not some trees, yeah, but
mm,
just land which we can cultivate, yeah. I
yeah, for
understand.
cultivation, that's it, yes.
Cultivation, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you might also have um, um, says what's the difference between arable farming and arable land? Any, is there any difference? I don't know really. So they're saying arable farming involves growing crops such as wheat, barley, rather than keeping animals or growing fruit and vegetables. So if it's animals, that's not arable. If you've got sheep and cows, it's not an arable farm. So this is arable, that word.
Okay.
But there are such things as mixed farms. So mixed. So some bits are for crops, some bits are for animals, maybe even some bits are for vegetables. So there is a sort of, you know, there's not there's quite a few sort of variability to it, I should say. I'm not quite sure why we got into that. Okay. So the title to this sort of picture here, it says down the bottom, flooded fields near Barrow Bridge in Somerset this month. And this month was actually last month, being February 2026. So I've never heard of this town before, Barrow Bridge. Barrow Bridge. That's how I would pronounce it. Um, and that's the name of the county there, Somerset. Do you want to just say that? Somerset.
Somerset.
Yeah, it's
Somerset.
a lot of people go here in the summer for their holidays, but during the winter, you can see it can get flooded. As I said, perhaps a century or two ago, it was regularly flooded every sort of pretty much every winter. But it's a bit rarer nowadays for it to get flooded like that in that photo. So this is
Do we
our
know
mm,
how far away this place from London? Or probably no.
say 300 miles or something like that, I'd
Ah,
guess.
yeah, okay, okay.
Hmm. Okay. I think it's the A4, no, the A3, is it? No, I don't know. Okay, so this is a little bit to read today. Maybe so if I read this little bit, the bit in
Yeah,
that bit
okay.
there maybe, and then you can do the bit after it. That's okay. So I've got a little bit to read. So that name there, I would say Esme. So Esme, Esme Stallard. Stallard. Again, these are names I've not seen before really. Climate and Science Reporter, 11th of February 2026. Although I said 11th. In America, as I said previously, they tend to say 11 February. We in Britain we tend to say 11th. We put sort of like a th
Mm,
there maybe. 11th.
11th.
Yeah. But so it's minor difference. I'm not sure why I bother saying that really. So areas across the UK from Cornwall to County Down have seen their wettest January on record continue with heavy rain in February. February. So pretty much everyone knows where these two places are. So Cornwall is like the lower is the most southerly part of the UK, and County Down. Do you have any idea where County Down is, Ruslan? Ruslan, you know idea?
Counting down. Mm. No, I have not idea.
Um, this is in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland, County Down. So okay. So, do you fancy reading from there? That look past that
Um,
block there, maybe. Okay.
okay. Uh, the the dealing in the country has been experiencing in the last week has been put down to a blocked uh, uh, we, Vita pattern. A high-pressure system over Scandinavia is preventing the wet wheat weather from moving away.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. So let me just read it through. Let me read perhaps maybe the top line, perhaps, and then perhaps you can
Okay.
repeat the top line. So the deluge the country has been experiencing in the last week has been. So the word deluge, whenever you say deluge, it often means, not always, but often means a lot of water has been falling down out of the sky, so rain. But you could have a deluge in your house. Let's say I know you in your tank upstairs bursts, and you might have a deluge of water coming down the stairs or through the ceiling because something's burst. They might
Uh,
talk about a deluge. A deluge is often a bad thing, something. So it could be a deluge of debt, maybe, bills to pay. So you might sometimes say that, but most of the time, 98% of the time, it's about water when we say deluge. So a lot of water, the great deal of water the country has been experiencing, in other words, in the last week. Do you fancy just saying that again then? So the deluge the country has been experiencing in the last week has been. So you'll go, that top line.
the deluge the country has been experiencing in the last week has been put down to a block.
Yeah, hold on. So we go back to that word again then. So we'll just take a little bit further. It doesn't get used a great deal because we don't often have floods, I guess. But well, so deluge, so
The
so deluge.
a deluge,
Yeah, deluge. Yeah. Okay.
deluge.
Okay. When you're saying it a little bit too slowly, if you speed it up a little bit, it sounds a little bit better. So you're saying sort of deluge.
Okay,
I said it slowly to help you understand what I was saying.
okay.
So if I say those three words, but again, or three or four words, so the country has. So the deluge, the country has been. So the deluge.
The deluge,
Yeah,
the,
that's it.
the
That's it. Right.
deluge the country has been experiencing.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Has been put down to. So I'll read this now. This line here now, maybe this is the third line. Okay, so been put down to a blocked weather. So that's weather. So there's a
Weather.
W, weather, as in bad weather, rainy weather, hot weather, sunny
Um,
weather. Yeah, okay. So there's a W, which can be a bit tricky, and there's a TH just above my sort of pointer there. So that's the trick. It is a tricky word. So weather. Do you want to just say weather,
weather.
maybe?
Weather.
Okay. Your TH sounds like a D to me. So let's just. It can be a bit tricky to get that TH, that one there, because it's in the middle of the word, isn't it? So that's what makes it tricky, isn't it? Have I oh. So the word I put up there is sort of different, isn't it? So let's put that one up there. Weather. So this is weather. So were. So I'm saying were, and then weather.
Weather.
Where? Yeah, that sounds better.
Weather.
Yeah, that's it. I'd say you have it there. Weather. That's it. That sounds it. So we'll just read it
Okay.
again then. Let me read it again. So so the bad weather, etc., is down to a blocked weather pattern, a high pressure system over Scandinavia. Do you want to give it one more go?
Okay. Put down to a block weather pattern. A high pressure system over Scandinavia.
That's it. That's it. Okay. And then the final one is this one here. So it's got weather again, but two W words together. So is preventing the wet weather from moving away. Is preventing the wet weather from moving away. So you'll go.
Is preventing the wet weather from moving away.
Okay, okay. Um, I think the ing's a little bit weak at the moment. So these two have been a bit
Okay,
weak. So just be aware of it at the moment. Maybe we'll do it next week maybe.
okay,
So I'll read this one. No, no. Do you want to read this one again? And then we'll break it down a little bit.
okay, okay.
This one here. Okay.
The Met Office estimates that at current levels of global warming, wet winters like 2023-24 have gone from being once in 80s years events to once in 20, and with further warming, this could become even more frequent.
Nice. That was nice.
Really?
Nice and steady. Yeah, yeah, that's okay. Um, so in the top line here, it says the Met Office. I think we have had this before. So what is the Met Office again? Can you remember? I think you might know.
um, mm,
What does it
Met
do?
Office?
Hmm.
I don't know, probably we did not cover this.
Oh, okay. So first, when you say the Met, there's a couple of different things that it could be.
Okay,
So the Met could actually be the police in London. It could be the police in London. Have you heard of the Metropolitan Police?
okay,
Metropolitan
yeah, I
Police.
heard.
That's the police in London. In the middle of London, the central part, there's a different police service. That's called City Police. That's different. But most of the London is sort of policed by the Met, the Metropolitan Police. So it could be that when it says the Met. So you have to work out which of these two it is when you're reading in the context. The other possibility is the Met when it says the meteorological office, meteorological. And when it says meteorological, that's
Yeah,
the weather. But it doesn't
yeah,
say, but you don't know which it is until you read the story or have an idea what the story is. And because we know it's about the climate and it's rain, it has to mean the weather office effectively. So when it says Met here, it's the meteorological. Almost not many people say meteorological, but people know that's the sort of two possibilities. So that's the Met Office. So what are the two possibilities again? Do you want to just repeat what they are?
yeah.
Just
I think it should be meteorological office
yeah, that's it.
because it is about the
The
weather.
weather. That's it. That's it. And the other one is the
The
what's
other one is about a metropolis in London.
that's pretty much it, yes. So metropolitan,
Ah,
metropolitan.
metropolitan in London,
Okay.
yeah.
It's sort of a Latin Greek word sort of a thing. But you know there's that railway line called there's a railway line in London called the
Yeah,
Metropolitan.
yeah.
It sort of means the city sort of a thing.
Ah,
But both
okay,
of them, so there's the Metropolitan Underground line. That's sometimes called the Met as well. The Met. So there's actually three things which are called the Met in London anyway.
okay, yeah,
So
okay, I
that's when someone
understand.
says the Met, you don't know what they're talking about until you get into the rest of their sort of sentence sort of a thing. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's so let me read the top line. I haven't read the top line. Let me read the top line
yeah,
maybe.
okay.
So the top line says the Met Office estimates that at current levels of global warming, wet winters, etc., etc. So, do you want to give that a go? So, the Met Office again. So, you'll go.
The Met Office estimates that at current levels of global warming, wet winters.
Yeah, that's it. Very good, very good. Your W's are quite good here. Wet winters, that's good, very good. Maybe this next one here. There we go. So like 2023, 24, um, like 2023, 2020, 2024 have gone from being once in 80-year events to once in 20 and etc. etc. So your go.
2023, 24 have gone from being once in 80 years events to once in 20 and
Etc. etc. Okay. And then it says with further warming, this could become even more frequent. With further warming, this could become even more frequent. So you'll go.
with, uh, with, uh, with further warming, this could become even more frequent.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Pretty good. Yes. Um, so when I read that little bit there,
Yeah.
when I came to that word, I would say that word out of the whole paragraph is probably one of the key words, at least one of them. So when I came to that word, I said become even more frequent. So I gave it more emphasis. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
So each
just
time I
more
read it, I said
emphasis.
even. So
Yeah,
just so you're aware. So in English, the voice does go up and down like this quite a bit, probably too much in a sense. And I'm told, you remember Tony at one of the walks.
yeah,
I wasn't aware of this, but he told me that English is one of the languages that goes most up and down. Our voices go up and down all the time when we're talking. It sounds a bit
yeah.
strange, I know, but going over, looking at all the languages over the world, we do it the most, apparently, amongst the most anyway. So listen out for people and trying to work out why they do this. Some words go up and some words go down, etc.
Okay, okay, thank
So
you. I will.
just be aware of it. So the reason highlight that one, as I said, was why did I highlight that word? Why? Any idea
Yeah,
why?
because you wanted to emphasize
Yeah,
uh, these key
yeah, yeah.
words from this part of article.
Okay, so this particular word is even, but it's that particular word, not because it is even, but because of what it's saying. So the meaning of that paragraph, it sort of circles around that word there. Now, it could be a different word, and the whole
Okay,
paragraph will be written differently, and it could be in a different place. So you have to work out which the key word is in the sentence or the paragraph even. And as I was reading this, it became obvious to me that it was about here somewhere. And as we came up to it, oh, I could see that's clearly the word which is the most important. So that's why I went up to emphasize the importance there. So you've got
yeah,
to work out which is the most crucial word, the most important word.
yeah. You
Um,
mean I need find the words when when I made my voice more up? Yeah,
mm, yeah, where you give the emphasis, you could say,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
When I give the emphasis, okay.
Such as kind of one that always used to be the case was where there was a question at the end, say a question mark here, let's say there isn't one, it's just a full stop. Normally, your voice would go up at the very end, and that meant, oh, that's a question by your voice going up at the end of a sentence. That always used to mean that. But the problem now with nowadays is that That's what the English used to do, but the Australians don't do that. They do something else. They just raise their voice at the end of every sentence. And so when a lot of Australians came over here, it became very confusing, and even more confusing when Australian television came over here. So there is a lot of sort of confusion and mix up. So there's also, you listen to the person. Oh, this person comes from, let's say, Australia, in which case you'll hear a different tone or cadence to their voice. The voice goes up and down in different ways. So it can be a bit complicated, I guess. Um, so
Okay.
yeah, so just be aware the voice does go up and down at different places in your
Okay, I
it's
got
because
you.
certain because the key word in a sentence would normally get emphasis. Sometimes it might be because your voice goes down, I suppose, might be a different way. Um, and sometimes when something is in quote marks, you might possibly give that a different voice as well. You might say it slightly differently. It might not necessarily try to give it emphasis, but you might try to say it just slightly differently. But here you probably wouldn't, just looking at it quickly, because just it doesn't really require it, I don't think. Um, Again, I'm not an expert on this, but this is just my sort of experience, is what I would suggest. Um, so for the moment, just listen out, be aware of it, hear other people doing it, and just try to get a feel for it. It might take a lifetime, sort of get it perfect, I would say. But perhaps no one's got it perfect. Could say that. Um, so we did the even. And I think when you said this word, I think you said father, father. But really, I'm being perhaps this sort of unnecessary in a way. But really, this is further, further. So father and further. There's similar meanings, but not quite the same. So just be aware of that, really. So you just want to say further rather than father. Further. We'll say further.
Further.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a U there, and and we sort of say further. So if you think about it, that word, that little bit there is actually the word fur, like a furry cat, that kind of a thing. So this is further. But if that was an A, then it's sort of like far, isn't it? Far, that bit there.
Yeah,
If that was an A in the middle, that would be the word far, wouldn't it? So, and when there is an A there, we do say far, yeah, farther, just farther. Yeah, I had to think now. Yeah, I had to think how to spell the word. Yeah, my spelling is terrible. Okay. Does that make sense? Do you want me to explain some of this again? Because I mean, I didn't really go into why I. It's sort of a long explanation into this
yeah,
why I said that
okay.
word.
I will try, yeah, explain it shortly. Yeah,
Mm,
I understand
mm,
after your explanation that when I am reading, I need to um find the words where I need to make different tone
yeah.
because it would make my reading more clear and understandable,
Mm,
and
mm,
in this way I can emphasize uh,
mm. Yes.
some meaning
Yeah. Yeah.
of text.
Of what you're trying to say. Yes. But it is not just in reading; it's also in everyday conversation as well. So that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's in
yeah.
reading and it's the same,
I
really.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcast, and I
Mm,
see what you said now uh, a
mm.
lot, yeah, from another people. But when I am actually speaking with someone, it is difficult to make it
Yes.
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
Of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, Well, that's what I don't want to go into too much detail because it's something you probably pick up in time or over time as much as anything. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
at the end of the day, we can't really do too many things at once. It's hard enough sometimes just to read what's on the page. Besides, then add on another job to understand it at the same time and to give emphasis to the certain key words that need the emphasis or should have emphasis given to them. Um,
yeah. It is
and
a
and
good point. Yeah, I will try do it at the same time.
well, I don't. What I'm just really saying, be aware of it, really. So, and that's sort of what's happening.
Okay.
So pick up or get an idea of where you think maybe you should raise your voice a little bit or drop your tone a little bit, up and down. But don't necessarily think, oh, I have to do it this week now. But just be aware of it, having it sort of building up in the back of your mind.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Yeah,
So
I got it.
just listen for the moment, and just try to get ideas
Okay.
about it. Um, so maybe I'll read this one simple line here. So it says, this could have significant impacts for housing, transport, and food supply. So maybe, do you want to do this one here? That little block of text there.
Yeah. This could have a significant impact for housing, transport, and food supply.
Yes. And maybe the one below?
Okay. Hmm. Uh, one farmer, one farmer in Somerset told the BBC that he was living on a knife edge as his crop were days away from rotting in the flood water. Now,
Mm.
I feel that, yeah, I didn't uh, made a correct pronunciation in this.
Do you want to give it another go then, or go back over those words?
Probably
Which
after you, if you don't mind.
okay. So one farmer in Somerset told the BBC. I think when you said the BBC, it didn't sound quite as I wouldn't as I expected it. So do you want to just say that there? So
Okay.
BBC.
BBC.
Yeah, everyone knows what BBC is who lives in this country, I would say. Um, that he was living on a knife edge. So I would kind of guess that the living is probably the key word, and that's that half a sentence there. So living, because if you're living and dying, that's really important, isn't it? If you're dying or you're living or just about living, that's probably the
Okay.
key word there. So he's living on a knife edge. So when it says living on a knife edge, what do you think he means by that? What's the
Mm.
meaning? So this is a farmer. He's living on a knife edge. What does that mean? Sounds like a strange thing to do, but what does it mean?
Yeah, I understand that he was living he was living on a knife edge. It is like uh, he nearly moved from this place, but something stop him
Ah,
because
okay.
of some reason.
Perhaps the weather or something. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so when someone says living on a knife edge, let me just search that. Let's see what it comes up with. So it might come up with something more useful than I can sort of come up with. So if someone's living on a knife edge, it's sort of very precarious. It's very risky. Something could go wrong at any moment, is what it's really saying. But you might say, I'm on a knife edge. Living is more a little bit more fundamental, but being on a knife edge might be because you're waiting for an important phone call. So if you're on a knife edge, it means things are sort of risky, precarious. Things could go wrong at any moment. That's sort of the idea. So if I just read this here, it says, so the phrase "living on a knife edge" So living on a nice knife edge is different from being on a knife edge, but they're sort of similar, but they are different. So the phrase living on a knife edge refers to being in a very anxious or worried state about a difficult or stressful situation. Um, uh, it describes a scenario or story. It describes a story, let's say, where the outcome is uncertain and one is in a, or I am in a precarious situation. So when it says precarious, do you know what it means when it says precarious? Do you have an idea what that is? Precarious?
Girls, no.
So precarious really has the same meaning as knife edge. Precarious
Ah,
and
yeah.
knife edge mean the same thing. It's sort of like being on the edge of a cliff. You could fall over that cliff at any moment if something goes wrong. So maybe you're
Okay.
going to get a letter and it says you've got cancer or something, or you've lost your job, or maybe it's something sort of not quite so serious. So, but living on a knife edge is something where there's this constant anxiety or problem that you can't seem to get rid of. Does that make sense?
Uh,
But just
Instant
being on a knife edge
anxiety. Yeah.
is a bit more shorter term.
Okay.
So you might say, "Oh, I'm on a knife edge at the moment." In the movie on the TV, they're just about to find out if something has happened to the other character in the story. But that's a much smaller issue than living on a knife edge. So living on a
Yeah.
knife edge means you might be dying or something, or your house is about to fall down or something like that. Okay, so there we go. So let's go back to that sentence again. So
Okay.
one farmer in Somerset told the BBC that he was living on a knife edge. So this gives a bit of an idea what's happening now. As, and so you could say as is quite an important sentence because it then tells us why this guy is in such a risky situation, such a terrible situation. And it says, as his crops were days away from rotting or going bad, you could say
Yeah.
going bad, in the floodwater. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So do you want to have another go? So another word was, so that was rotting. You know, when something rots, it goes bad, it goes black and mushy and terrible when you throw it away. If something's rotting.
Yeah. Rotting.
I've had rotten carrots in my fridge at sometimes. I've probably got them now actually. Okay, so over
Yeah.
to you then.
Yeah.
So one farmer once again then.
Somerset, yeah? Did I say it
Yeah,
correct? Yeah?
one farm. Yeah, Somerset. Yeah, that's it.
Somerset, yeah?
Somerset. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. One farmer in Somerset told the BBC that he was living on a knife edge, as his crop were days away from rotting in the flood water.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty good. That's good. There we go.
Rot-
Okay. There. These are other stories that are on the BBC, I guess. And then it says, the title here says, Wetter Winters More Common. Wetter Winters More Common.
It just means, in other words, that we will face more water, yeah? More water
Yeah,
in
more
winter time,
rain.
yeah?
Yeah, I would have thought. Yeah, I suppose it could be storms blowing the seawater onto the land, but yeah, it normally means rain and snow, probably that sort of a thing. Yeah. Um, do you want to have a go at that then? And then I'll read it. Then I'll read it
Yeah,
maybe.
okay.
Okay.
Mm. On Tuesday, more than 100 locations across the UK faced flood warning, and more than 300 homes had already succumbed to the flood waters, according to the Environment Agency.
That's good. Nicely. Okay, so in some of the other sort of paragraphs we've read, you have missed off some of the endings a little bit. Some of the endings of the word.
Locations,
So yeah, it's the S you missed here, and I think the S there as well. And you've done it elsewhere earlier on.
warnings.
So sometimes you
Okay.
do miss off the endings a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
Can I
yeah.
have another go to read
Well,
it?
let me just do this word here, just and then
Okay.
have another go. So we had this word last time, didn't we? Was it yesterday or something, or day before, Wednesday? But there was no ed on the end of the ed was missing on that one. So this is succumb, succumb. That word there. So do you remember what succumb meant? Do you remember at all?
Second,
Succumb. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
second.
Here comes the
Difficult.
dictionary. Here comes the dictionary. Oh, died is up there. Who died? I wonder. So succumb. It's not really an obvious word. It looks like suck. It doesn't look like succumb, does it? But so it starts out with sir, which is the odd bit, isn't it? Sir, and then come, succumb. Strange, isn't it? So let's
Second.
listen to how they say it, because they sometimes say it differently to me. So here we go.
succumb,
Yeah, succumb. So one big thing is the B does nothing. It's just to confuse you. They put the B there to confuse you. Yeah.
Second. Yeah.
So it's succumb, succumb,
Se
succumb.
second.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if you succumb to temptation or pressure, you do something that you want to do. Okay. That you want to do, or or that other people want you to do, although you might feel it might be wrong. Yeah, so you might. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you might. Sometimes the saying is, they succumb. I succumb to temptation. You might say, or I gave into temptation. Is another way of saying it. So succumb, you could say, is something like gave in or surrendered to down here. Surrendered to. And it's got the idea of to as well, actually. So yielded, if you yield, it's the same as sort of giving in or giving up. Yeah, giving in, giving up. Submit. If you're in a fight, when you submit, that's the end of the fight, isn't it? If you're in a
Yeah.
fight with someone, you say, I submit, I submit. It's like surrender, I surrender almost. And succumb has the same idea. It's sort of you've given up, you're giving up fighting, or you've stopped fighting, that sort of a thing. There's another sentence, another sense of it here. If you succumb to an illness, you become affected by it or die from it. So it's really quite severe, isn't it? And so succumb here, again, it's always got this idea of to being on the end of it as well. So it means you caught something, or you catch, I should say, contract, fall victim to, or die from. So die from is the same as succumb to, I should say, succumb to. Oh, they seem to be the only two ways it's used according to that. I find that a little surprising. It comes from the Latin, apparently. To go down, I think it means, or something. So we get it from Latin. That's why it looks so strange. Isn't really an English word as such, you might say. So do you want to just say it then? The word.
Succumbed.
Yeah, succumbed. Yeah, succumbed.
Succumbed.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll do the top line then it's your go. So
Okay.
on Tuesday, more than 100 locations across the UK faced faced flood warnings and etc. etc. So your go.
On Tuesday, more than 100 locations across the UK faced flood warning, warnings.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's that. And maybe do the rest of that paragraph in one big blob. So and more than 300 homes had already succumbed to floodwaters according to the Environmental Agency. So you'll go.
And more than 300 homes had already succumbed to the flood waters, according to the Environment Agency.
That's it. That's it. So I think nowadays we hear a lot more about the Environment Agency because they're sort of responsible, I guess, for pollution and looking
Yeah.
after us in the bad weather, the Environment Agency. Um,
Can you
yeah.
tell me, please, for example, in these sentences, when we can see had already succumbed, can we replace succumb to experienced, had already experienced to the flood
Hmm.
waters?
Um, Not really, no.
Not?
You possibly could have written the story in a different way and put
Uh,
experienced in there. But when you say succumbed, there's this idea of things have got so bad that they've it's come to the maximum. It's got to the maximum sort of thing, and it's meant that people left their homes. Is the idea of something's gone wrong to the limit, sort of thing. So
okay.
succumbed is sort of it's kind of saying there's a feeling of it's come to the maximum. It's got to the as far as it can get, sort of a thing. It doesn't mean that the water's up to the top of their head. Oh, that means they must have all drowned or something. But perhaps it simply meant that they left their homes, or the homes were all flooded, so all the water got into their homes, I suppose. If you say experienced, I think that was the word you were saying. It sounds like, oh, maybe the flood waters didn't really go. It wasn't too bad. Maybe if you were in the middle of the flood, it was really bad. Maybe the car was washed away. But when you say succumbed, it sounds like something's got to the maximum. It is a different sort of idea in there. So
Yeah.
remember we were reading about succumbed, and one of them was about if you're in I mentioned if you're in a fight, you submit or you sort of surrender. That's the maximum, isn't it? If you're still in the fight, boxing away against the other person, trying to defend
Yeah.
yourself, you haven't really given up. You're experiencing a fight, but neither of you has stopped fighting against it. But with succumbed, it sounds like you've gone to the maximum and nothing more can happen. You've given up, in a sense. There's those sorts of ideas hovering in there, I suppose.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
beyond experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Um, Maybe we'll read the next one then.
Hmm.
I was going to say about this word here. I've noticed in a few places. Sometimes I think you've got it, but here you said zan
Then.
so yeah, so than there, yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, an easy way is to put a sort of a z sound there, but of course
Yeah.
it's that's the cheat, isn't it?
It's my bad habit. Yeah, but I'm trying to avoid it.
I thought it was interesting how that I think you said that you couldn't really hear the difference when I was making a Z sound in that position and then saying it correctly. You couldn't really hear you couldn't really hear a difference. I think it was a month ago or something or whenever. But
Yeah, I said like that. Yeah, but
mm,
now I feel the different.
oh,
Yeah,
that's
for
interesting,
example,
isn't it? Yeah,
uh, I can say it in two ways, then and then. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is it different? Yeah, a bit.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You can sort of. Well, we'll go on to that maybe in the future, but I'll say something about that maybe in a month's time or something. But okay, so this one starts out with the TH word. So I'll read all of this then it's your go to say
yeah.
afterwards. So up to now you've gone first, haven't you? I think mostly. So the heavy and continuous days of rainfall following a similar pattern in the last few years of wetter winters. It doesn't quite make sense when I've read that, so I'll carry on anyway from six.
Mm.
So six of the ten wettest, six of the ten wettest since records began nearly 250 years ago have been this century, according to the Met Office. Wow, that's interesting. So you'll go. I didn't read that very well, but you'll go.
Uh, the heavy, oh, uh, the heavy and continuous days of rainfall follows a similar pattern to the last few years of wetter winters.
Mhm.
Six of 10 wettest since a record began nearly 250 years ago have been this century, according to the Met Office.
That's it.
It was bad.
Well, mine wasn't very good either. I messed it up. Yeah, that'll do me. That was good. So, any words there you want to go back over again, or any words you're not clear on the
Uh,
meaning or anything?
Rainfall, it is means very strong rain, yeah?
Not really. No. It's just a way of talking about or summing up about the rain. No, not particularly. It could be light rain, really, but it's talking about it in a much more general way when you say rainfall. Yeah,
Okay,
if we're saying it's
okay,
raining right now, we just say, "Oh, it's raining,"
yeah,
but we don't
okay,
talk about the rainfall in that specific sense. It's a bit more general when you're talking about rainfall.
okay.
So probably the Met is going to be discussing it all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
mean it's
I
particularly
got it.
bad or particularly good or anything. It's just talking about it in a much more general sense.
Yeah, and the uh, pattern, it is like an image, yeah?
Pattern.
Pattern.
You can buy there's several different ways of using the word pattern. So it's just saying, it's just sort of talking about maybe, so if you think about the weather, I think we probably get more rain in winter than in the summer, and we get a lot more snow in
Uh,
in say
Okay.
January and February than we do in April and no, then let's say August. And you could say that that is a pattern because it happens every year like that. Every year we get more snow in January and February than we do in say in August and September. That's a pattern. Does that make sense? You
Yeah,
could say at work you have a work pattern. You have a work pattern in that you're off on Sundays, but you always work on Monday to Friday or something. That's a work pattern. Or some other pattern might exist at work. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So we're just talking about the rainfall follows a similar pattern. So let's just read it again. So the heavy and continuous days of rainfall follow a similar pattern. So I guess it's when they say similar, maybe they're talking about up this the previous paragraph. Maybe. So maybe it's similar to that pattern. I haven't quite worked it out to be honest. So follow a similar pattern. Then it says, oh, two. So when it says similar pattern and then two, the two is then going to say it's similar to this other thing which they're going to mention now. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
two saying, oh,
I
the
got
pattern,
it. Yeah.
I'm about to say what the pattern is now, he's saying. So the pattern is this bit two, the last few years of wetter winters. So the simple pattern here is wetter winters. That's the simple pattern. So more rain in winter, presumably less in summer, I guess. Well, no, I suppose it's compared to say 10 or 20 years ago, I suppose. It's wetter now than it was 10, 20 years ago, I suppose.
And yeah, it slowly coming back. Yeah, we can say like this.
Coming back.
Coming back. Yeah, yeah. The more wet.
winters.
wetter winters coming in these days. Yeah,
Yeah, we're experiencing more now than we used to, yes.
yeah, and
So
it
it's not really
used.
coming back. It's not really saying coming back. It's not saying, oh, we had them in the past, then they went away, then they're coming back. I don't think it's quite saying that. It's just, I think maybe I've misunderstood it. I think it's just saying we've had
uh,
drier winters
yeah,
for some period of decades, and now
yeah,
they're having wetter winters now. And that's
yeah,
kind of the
yeah.
change, I guess.
I wanted to
Okay.
say yeah, like that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right. Okay.
like
Okay.
that.
Yes. Yeah. And then it seems to explain it a bit there, doesn't it? So it then says 6 of the 10 wettest since records began nearly 250 years ago have been this century, according to the Met Office. Does that make sense to you, you think?
Yeah, 6 of 10 wettest since record began nearly 20, nearly 250 years ago, have been this century,
Hmm.
according to the Met Office.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Y-
So when it says 10, what does it mean there? What does
Yeah,
it mean by
six
10?
of 6 of the 10. It
Hmm.
is means that more than half of 10, yeah,
Yeah.
but wettest periods,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, yes. Or years, I suppose. Yeah. Or winters.
wettest years, yeah, I'm not sure how to explain since record. It was oh, it was difficult. It is very challenging, you know, to
Do you want
explain.
to read The Wind in Rome maybe instead?
I don't know.
That's easier compared to this. We shouldn't have done climate change really. That's the tricky trouble, I think. Okay. Do you want me to have a go?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't mean I understand it either. So it is a tricky sentence. And so but one of the key things it says this century.
yeah. It
And
is
we if you look at
now,
the
now.
year
Yeah,
here,
it is
we've
now.
o- we've only had 26 years this century so far, or 25 years maybe you might say.
We need
So yeah,
70 more, and it will be full.
no, I
Yeah.
don't think so. No, 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 another 70 years. So we've only had 20, let's say 26 years this century, and it is saying 6 of the 10 wettest records, sorry, since records began nearly 250 years ago have been this century. So it's saying 6 of the wettest years have been. It is a bit tricky, actually. 6 of the 10 wettest years. Yeah, it's hard to say what they're saying. I read that as the 6 of the years in this century, so in the last 26 years, have been the wettest ever recorded. And the record's been over
Okay.
250 years. So in the last 250 years, 6 of those years of the wettest years have been in this century.
Yeah, yeah. Now I understand. Yeah.
I think that's what it's saying. So, but it mentions 10. I
Mm,
don't know why it mentions the
six
10
of
really.
10.
So the 10
Really,
is kind of
yeah.
confusing. If they
I,
just
s-
said 6 of the wettest years, that would have been much easier. But stick a 10 in there just confuses matters. I mean, I can sort of see what they're getting at. I could be wrong, of course, but can we just look at this little chart here because this might help us understand what the hell they're talking about.
Let me try to explain it, Tony.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think when they mentioned 10 of 6, yeah, it means that they did 10 strong records of the wettest window, but this is 6 in 220 years was the most strongest than 10
Yeah, yeah.
during this time probably, yeah.
I go along with you. Yes, it's something like that.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But adding in the 10, we don't really need to know the 10, I don't think. It does,
Yeah.
it's not very helpful. Maybe it comes, maybe we need to know it for the rest of the story, I guess. But I don't think we have time to read the rest of it really, because it
Yeah,
looks like it's
yeah,
quite
that's
long.
true. Yeah.
So is this interesting here? So,
Hmm.
oh, 0% drier. So if it's at zero, or this sort of level of brown, it, hold on, so 100% average. This is a bit confusing as well.
Average.
So what is it when it says 100%? That means it's average. What does that mean?
Average.
So
It's
that's 100% of
middle.
normal, I guess, isn't it?
Ah,
So so if it's brown, a dark brown, it's down to 0%. So does that
it
mean there's
is.
been no rain at all?
Yeah, but I don't think so that no rain at all. Probably it was normal level of rain.
Ah, but you see, average means normal level. So
Ah,
if it's white, it's neither brown or reddy brown or blue or just basically white. That seems to be average. That's what's a bit confusing. If we look at the picture, which is even more incredible, it's brown over here. So this is getting, I think, drier. I think it's drier.
yeah,
And the
that's
white
true.
line is average. If it's white, it's average,
Ah,
normal, I think. And the dark blue
okay.
is a lot wetter, and light blue is a little bit wetter, which is absolutely incredible. I did not know that. So it's actually drier for chunks of Scotland, but wetter on the eastern side. So the east tends to be drier, and the west tends to be. So the west tends to be drier, and the east tends to be wetter. Incredible. Oh, that's roughly where Bristol is, right there. So right in the area of Bristol, it's drier there. Strange.
Where is the London? Is it?
Just about here, London. The big blob they call London. I'm roughly about there. You can actually see me if you look closely. I'm just there. So Cornwall, we talked about Cornwall at one point. That's down here.
Ah, yeah,
That's
yeah. That's why.
Cornwall.
Yeah.
A lot of people go on holiday in Cornwall. And then we have Devon and Somerset down here. Devon and Somerset down here. So that's London. Bristol and Avon and Bath are there. This is Wales. And we mentioned Northern Ireland at one point. So that was up there. But it's interesting. Most of the country is wetter, but it's amazingly there's considerable parts are drier. I would never have. I didn't realise that. So let's just quickly flick through it. Was there anything you wanted to ask about any of this at all? We haven't read all of this, I
Yes,
know.
one point. For example, is it possible to build some artificial barrier to protect some cities from this flooding? Do you think is it possible or no?
Well, they have built a number of barriers to protect cities and things, um, but sometimes it's quite a tricky business. You might think, oh, we want the river to flow faster to get the water away from the city if there's a river going through the middle of the city. But what a lot of people say, oh, it's not really that. What we want is before the river gets into the city, you need to slow down the river, you could almost say, before the river gets into the city. Does that make sense? So they sort of put wiggles. Make the river more windy so that the river sort of goes around more corners and it's more natural flowing before it gets into the city. And sometimes even, the very first photo we looked at up here, they say, well, this is what used to happen centuries ago. And it's only in recent times that it's last 20 odd years, I suppose, that it's becoming more and more as it used to be. But we sort of drained this to some degree to make it more useful for farming. And so it is coming back, because you did say coming back to as it used to be. So in a sense, it is coming back. But I don't know if it was that much wetter. I don't think it was that much wetter 250 years ago. I think it's just that I think it was probably drier, I think, 250 years ago. And in fact, that's what they're saying, isn't it? There was six of the wettest years have been this century, haven't they? They said six of the 10 or something, wasn't it? There is actually a river. I think this is a river where my cursor is there. That's actually a river there. So it is sort of at the same height or the same level as the river, really. I think that's a river there.
And to protect this, we need make the river slower, yeah? To
Um, well, a lot of people would say, well, do we really need to protect it? There's a certain degree of some of the problems we're having is because we're doing things sort of against what is natural. We're fighting against nature
against,
in a sort of
okay,
way which is a bit
against.
crazy. Um,
Uh,
if we sort of worked with it a bit more, it might actually be better. It might not be quite so expensive. Um, and if we worked with it, if we understood much more about how the weather works, it would probably make the environment better, more natural. So it might be very tempting to build huge flood walls along the banks of the river, but that's going to take a lot of money. Um, it might it might mean a lot more carbon dioxide is blown up into the atmosphere to make concrete or steel or whatever. Um, and then it might sort of end up maybe one of the benefits of having it flooded is that more nutrients go in the soil, and might use less fertilizers. And making fertilizers is quite an expensive
Probably, I
business.
think, for example, in this particular area, we
Yeah,
need grow more trees instead of
maybe. Yeah.
yeah, instead of crops. Yeah,
Mm.
for example, because
Not. Yeah.
trees can
Hmm.
contain it can uh,
Stabilize.
yeah, stabilize, yeah, and they require more water
Mm.
probably
Yeah.
than crops.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea, really, to be honest. So you can see a couple of trees here. We can see a
Mhm.
good number actually down here, but in the bulk down here, there aren't that many trees really. Possibly
Because
could put trees. Yeah.
I know why this is
Hmm.
private land, yeah, and
Yeah.
uh,
Farmland, probably. Yeah.
farmer does not want to grow their trees
Hmm.
because he wants to make money of
Hmm.
crops,
Yeah.
and that's why probably.
The trees will shade out the crops to some degree. You're thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds quite possible, doesn't it? Um, but if it floods like this every year, then it won't be worth it. The farmer will have to think again about what he grows here, because there was that guy saying he's living on a knife edge, and it's because of the flooding. And so if his farm floods every year, or he doesn't know when it's going to flood, but he knows it will flood sooner or later, then that is living on a knife edge, because he's planting one thing in the field only to find out that it's effectively ruined because there's too much water on it. Some things might actually benefit from some water, but if we're growing rice, this might be exactly what we want, but we don't really grow rice. We grow a little bit of rice in this country, but it's very, very small
Mm.
amount. But but I think you want I think there's different ways of growing rice, isn't it? You don't have to have flooded ground to grow rice, but it just you get more crops in, I think, if you flood it, I think, in a year. Yes. So this is a really old church looking at it. This looks thirteenth century, I would say, or up to the 13th. No, no. That particular corner is after the 13th century. So it's got a particular corner there. That makes it le the earliest it could be
Think,
is 13th century.
do you think it was damaged by a bomb?
I think it's just disuse. It hasn't been used. They're not using it anymore. If you think about it, there doesn't seem to be a town nearby. So they might have built this church for the people who were working in the fields out here, for them to get to church or whatever time they needed to get here. So that we actually know what the town is, don't we? So look at the town. Whoops. If I go to the top again, it mentioned, was it Barrow Bridge, wasn't it? I think Barrow Bridge. So let's search Barrow Bridge. So let's search it. See what Bing comes up with. Thank you, Bing. So village in Somerset. There's a lovely little bridge there. And the other photo, it has it flooded there as well. Unless that's a huge river there, I think. So let's perhaps click on photos or images, I should say. Let's click on that one.
This picture of our church.
Um, yeah, I think that's the same one. I think that's the same one we've been looking at, I think, I would imagine. And they're calling it Barrow Mump for some reason. I don't know why. So it might be that the hill is called Barrow Mump. I don't think the church is called that, is it? Oh, there's a YouTube video here. Let's look at the YouTube video. I've sort of left click on it and right clicked on it. So all I've got is the photo. I think I've got the. Let's click on the YouTube link. So this is the YouTube link to the video. If we go back to that photo while it's loading. So this, I think this is right. I think we can see lots of flat ground here, and there's very little flooding. I can see a little bit of blue just there. But I think where we were looking is sort of behind us in this picture.
Kind of this picture. Yeah, yeah,
I think
probably,
it's
yeah.
behind us, I think. It's only 3 minutes 42. So let's have a quick look at it then. Oh, I've clicked on expand. They bring up the whole. So we want a drone. A bit bigger. There we go. So there is a town. It's a very small town just here, isn't there? A little bit. So not that far from the church. Oh, this is the flooded area. What was flooded?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a graveyard down there. It's a graveyard.
Draining.
drain, man-made drain, I should say. Well, just stop it there. Let's stop it there. I think I have to say that's a very, very good drone flight. So thank you very much, Paul Clegg Wells. That's very good. Um, so we mentioned about we were thinking they naturally drained the waterway, not naturally, but they sort of put man-made drains in. This clearly is them here, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
suppose some years it gets a bit too much and it gets a bit flooded. Have you any idea what you think these things might be growing in here? I got the feeling this isn't grass. I think this is the crop already here for the year. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks like grubs, yeah, but I think
Hmm.
I think probably this is land
Mm.
for the animals, no? For
Oh, so you
example.
think it's sort of if it's grass for animals, we often call that fodder. When it's
Ah,
cut, the grass is cut and it's dried out a bit. Sometimes call that fodder or silage might be another word, sort of thing. But that's when it's processed, dried out a bit, I should say. But that kind of looks a bit of a waste. I'm not sure really. It's still sort of it's just before springtime because these trees are just quite dead looking, aren't they? The trees there's no green leaves on them. Some of them are because they're just the way they go all the way around, I think. So,
correct.
but see, I think this is grass on the on the mump,
Yeah,
and there might be grass along the edge here, but it's a different green there. There's two different greens, isn't there?
yeah, and
I don't know.
I
What do
can
you think?
s
Yeah.
I don't know, and you know what I
Mm.
noticed that we can see some straight lines, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
after some meters, yeah, it's probably wider, 300 3 meters, yeah,
Yeah.
in a wide,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
in long, yeah, it is much long,
You
it
mean
is,
the gap between here is about three
yeah,
meters? You mean
yeah, I
it
think,
might be a
and
bit more than that, I think. But yeah, obviously a reasonable gap, isn't it? It's not like an inch or something, is it? It's quite a big gap there.
yeah, and I think it has done by some machine.
Yeah, some machine, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
Probably, you know what? I think this is a normal grass, not normal,
Go on.
just a grass for
For
the
animals,
cutting, yeah, and
cattle,
they,
cattle. Mm.
yeah, and
So
for
fodder, we call that fodder. We would call that fodder.
for the winter
Fodder.
time, you
F
know, for
So
the
FODDR, fodder. If it's food for the animals, it's
yeah.
fodder. So you would say, oh, that is fodder. I think that's for fodder, that grass. Okay. So I'm being technical there, I don't know why. Imminent end. I can't seem to stop anything. I keep trying to stop and it stops of its own accord. So he says, a medieval church was built on the hill in the 15th century. So that's the 1400s. The current ruined church on top of the hill was built in 1793. Wow. The land and ruin were donated to the National Trust in 1946 as a war memorial. Barrow Mump is also known as St. Michael's Borough or Tuttergay, I don't know. Both words both words borrow and hump mean hill. There we go. So soundtrack Imminent End by Christoph Mo Divlevson. There we go. So thank you very much. Those chaps was very useful. Um, so He doesn't mention what's growing in the fields, so maybe we could try to analyze it. So if we actually search, we don't have to do this, but um, let's search that and and ask what's growing there. If I say farmer, maybe, what can I tap in to find out what grows there?
Probably, what is the common, uh,
Common crops in Somerset, maybe?
yeah, common crops in
Common
Somerset?
crops in, well, this is just, I put the word crips, so maybe let's put crops in. That would really help. Put the
Okay.
right word in. Crops, common crops, list. Well, maybe well, let's just say common crops. Market Garden, Somerset Food Trail. Come, so this looks like it's the what this is actually some sort of a shop in the area. So maybe
No, fine.
come and find out how we grow our vegetables given that we are off the grid and do not have access to mains electricity or water. We are also proud to say that this is a particular shop in that area that doesn't have electricity. So everything stopped. So everything stocked and produced at the Mump is local, seasonal, and British. The entire site is off grid. So when it says off grid, what do you think that means? What do you take that to mean? So the entire site is off grid. What do you make of that, Ruslan?
This means that negative, yeah, great, without fertilizer, probably. No.
It might do. It might include that. But normally when you say off grid, you say that there's no mains electricity supplied. So they make their own in some way, or they just don't use it.
They don't use at all electricity to grow up crops
Well, you don't really use electricity in the field, do you? You don't sort of plug in the
around the
plug in
field.
the potatoes to make them grow.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the farmers who look after the crops, they're not connected to the mains electricity. And
yeah,
it
and
probably also means the water as well. They don't not on mains water, and maybe some other things. They may not have other things as well, like
okay,
sewage. They have
and
to get
in
rid of their
this
own
way,
sewage.
yeah, in this way, when they avoid, when they grow up these crops of grit, it is their products is more helpful, yeah,
It, it might be
useful.
that, but that's not really the point, I think.
Ah,
Okay, so they're saying the entire site is off grid. So most people are off grid simply because the electricity is just too far away or the water is too far away. And to get them to uh, have electric pylons nearby might cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it might, if there's only a couple of farmhouses in that area, they just don't bother, I should say. Um, and same with the water, because you think about it, they might have to have a long pipe being miles long. And if these farms have their own well or cistern, so these are ways of getting water and storing water, there might be no point bring pump plumbing water all that way or piping the water all that distance. Um, but it does mention solar panels, so I guess they're using solar panels for electricity. So, but as a result, they're not going to have they're not going to have an electricity bill or a water bill, but they do have to sort out their own electricity and water. So they might have to sort of spend a couple of £1,000 every 10 years to fix something when the electricity goes wrong or something, I suppose. Um, but I've definitely lived on a farm where they didn't, I guess they didn't have electricity, so they used candles or had a little lantern or something. Have you ever lived on a farm, Ruslan, where they just had a lantern or something?
No, no. I
No.
just remember
Mm,
when I was young, yeah,
mm,
in Ukraine we had some period.
mm,
It was probably 20 years ago when every evening we did not have electricity at home.
mm.
Uh, and yeah, because our country uh, tried to save.
Separate. Yeah.
It is safe. It probably I don't know
Oh, really?
because
Okay.
we were a lack of electricity and
Mm,
yeah we needed to use candles at home,
mm, mm,
yeah, and yeah sometimes we were a lack of gas and as well we needed to use a
mm.
fireplace to yeah, to make
Get
our
heat
house.
and cook,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
and
that was that a was that a very was that a time you remember really strongly in your memory? Is it, or is it something you just vaguely remember, or what was it like?
it is vaguely, I would say, and
Vaguely, yeah.
vaguely, and it was
Vague.
ah vaguely.
So that's vague. Your V sounds at half like a W. Your V sounds like a
Yeah,
W. So vague, vaguely. Yeah, carry on though. Vaguely, vaguely.
vague. Yeah, and we had like this period in winter time. Yeah,
Mm, yeah, okay. So it sounds like what we might call a power shortage, something like that, a power
power shortage.
shortage.
Yeah, it is instead of lack of. Yeah, power
Yeah, yeah,
shortage.
yeah. So it might, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So in Britain in the 1970s, that's 50 odd years ago, there were some strikes, and so it meant the coal wasn't being mined, and they wouldn't allow the coal to go to the power stations to make electricity. So we had the electric power was cut off something like 10 o'clock at night sometimes. And I think we would call that a power shortage, or we might call it a power cut. Power
Um,
cut. So
okay.
they would cut off the power. And I'm sure in Ukraine now, there's a, in a sense, there's a power shortage now in Ukraine, isn't
Yeah,
there? And
yeah,
at certain times of the day, they have a power cut. They may say, so at 3 o'clock today in the afternoon, there's going to be a power cut, and the power will come back on it, and they say another time, don't they? Maybe this is on the news or on a piece of paper or something,
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It is exactly as you said. Yeah, and um, where my parents are,
Mm,
they have some schedule where is
yes.
power is and where is power cut.
Yeah. So we'd say when the power's on and when the
Ah,
power's off, we'd say something like that.
yeah. Where is the power? Yeah,
So maybe we'll end the sort of classy bit there.
yeah.
Let's find the right button. Let's get back to the photo actually. If I can find that photo, wherever it is. It's nice to end on a photo, I think sometimes. If I can find it. There we go. No, not that one. How annoying, can't find it. Oh, there it is. I can see it now. All that fuss. So I've got to find the right button. I'm still trying to find it, believe it or not.